We are also doing household surveys with farmers, trying to talk to them to understand their perception about climate change, their knowledge and how they are dealing with this through a number of household surveys. This photograph here is some of the preliminary contacts we've been having with the women farmers. We've been having the help of a PhD student from Cambridge, which is helping us to do this. We'll develop some sort of an atlas for all the accessions that are in the IBG Gene Bank, the Institute of Biodiversity and Conservation Gene Bank, develop some sort of atlas to show these accessions where they could be useful in a climate change protection model. And we are also trying to raise awareness through radio programs in Ethiopia about the role of gene bank in adapting to climate change, interviewing farmers as well, and all these will be broadcasted within the target areas. And it's important that once we've identified the seeds, is to have a delivery mechanism. How do we get those seeds in the gene bank, which are normally in minute quantities? How can we bulk those accession up and get the access to the farmers? So we need to work on developing these linkages through maybe extension service or NGOs or other institutions that are working in seed delivery to farmers, how they can incorporate that diversity rather than bringing crops from abroad or improve varieties, which would do little in these very marginal areas. So we are doing pretty much the same thing in Papua New Guinea, where we are focusing there on some of the vegetatively propagated crops, on sweet potatoes and taro there. So the objective is pretty much the same, but we are testing it there as well.
Okay, thank you. So, okay, I'll take over and just briefly illustrate the activities that we are involved with on the platform for agrobiodiversity research. That, by the way, is a platform hosted at Biodiversity International, and that looks at identifying relevant research in the area of agrobiodiversity. And in particular, we've got this project that is taking place in Bolivia and in Sarawak, and is as Eshan said, is complementary. It's always about identifying relevant materials, appropriate materials, I would say also, and making them more available to the farmers, and trying to increase the understanding of gene banks amongst the farmers, and the perception that these are infrastructures that, first of all, that they exist, because many farmers neither know of the existence of gene banks, and then also in opening up a communication channel, or trying to help the communication. So lots of work is to be done even on the gene bank front, trying to get them to communicate more with the farmers and the indigenous people. This project in particular works with indigenous rural communities, as it is, we identified this group of people because it's the Christensen Fund that is supporting the project, and they are very much interested in indigenous communities. So basically, okay, here, yes, is basically the important part for us is to understand how communities perceive varieties and how they handle it, how they handle this identity of these varieties. So briefly, it's about with the farmers in a participatory way to understand the diversity that they have, analyze it, to see if there's any problems in accessing materials, but before this is finding out what are the problems that they are encountering, and trying to put these problems in the hands of the gene bank managers, and trying to understand how can we help the farmers in a participatory way. So basically, it's a concept that is behind this is the cross-fertilization between the formal and the informal science, because farmers are scientists. They have got lots of knowledge, traditional and indigenous knowledge, and they have got solutions that can be useful for us as well in addressing certain problems. So basically, at the end of the day, the part that I would like to highlight of this project is that we would like to have improved availability and understanding amongst the farmers of seeds and what are gene banks. One important, well, the first part, let's say, because this is more of a social project compared to the one of Oesians, or at least the farmers are our main entry point. The first one is that we have established with the farmers free, prior, informed consent to first of all to establish this relationship. Of trust of knowing what's going to happen. I mean, any publication, anything that comes out of the work that stems from this work, the farmers are going to be, the work is going to be attributed to the farmers, and they agree that what we are doing is what they would like to see. So this is just a couple of these agreements that have been developed with the farmers. We started with the International Society of Ethnobotany Code of Conduct, I think that's the name of it, Code of Ethics, and then from there we developed, in the case of Sarawak and in the case of Malaysia, a particular agreement that suited their own needs together with them. So, as I was mentioning, many of the solutions are with the farmers, talking about indigenous and traditional knowledge. Here there's just 2 or 3 examples briefly about how farmers are managing agrobiodiversity to adapt and cope with climate change. This example in the picture is a farmer that is working in Burkina Faso with this technique. It's called the Zai. I'm sure that many of you know about it. These half moons are all moons, or they are wholes or they are half moons, but they are these structures that have got a function to restore the soil and to make best use possible of the scarce water resources. These little holes, basically, they dig these little holes and then they put some